Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And welcome to the Main Street Cinema, the show where we discuss the finer points in filmmaking. Oh boy, so Dragon, last time we spoke about Batman and Scooby Doo, it was in relation to what was it called? Like the Cape Crusader Caper, I believe.
Yes, that's the one.
Which, oh, that was so bad.
It was very...
just on every conceivable level. Like, it was a weak Scooby-Doo episode. It was an embarrassment to all the Batman characters that were involved. Like, I guess with the outside exception of Casey Kasem's Robin, which, you know, he's not great, but he's not offensive. Yeah, that was an experience, Dragon.
It was a cash-in crossover. That's really what it was. You know, it was just like, hey, we did this at they really kind of promote our show, and we're going to do it again because hey, like people they tuned in for that particular crossover. So hey, the kids keep tuning in to see who's going to be on the Flashlight this time, and hey, it's Batman again. We finally give him another Batman, and again, just was not at all what people. Again, the first one was mediocre. I'm saying it was like going from mediocre to like kill me now.
Oh God, I wouldn't go quite that far because I think it's kind of fun to make fun of. But
yeah, I know. I'm joking with it. I'm just saying, it mainly to a point like I'm watching bat paint dry right now. You know, I mean, like it looks nice. It looks kind of nice at the end. Like, yeah, there's a paint pattern for you, but you know, it's pretty static.
Regardless, Dragon, 2018 rolls around and we get not only a revival of the whole Batman meets Scooby-Doo concept, we also get kind of a little bit of a revival of Batman Brave and the Bold as well. Which, Dragon, I haven't seen much of Brave and the Bold, but I gotta say, I think outside of animated series, this might be my second favorite animated incarnation of Batman, just because I really like the lighthearted tone to it. I like that it's kind of like really pays homage to the Silver Age, and you know, a lot of obscure characters get love. I think it's just got a freaking stellar voice acting cast, man. I mean, my God, it's got an all-star lineup.
Well, I know you would love if you watch it. You'd love Brave and the Bold. You'd go gaga for it. I know that much.
Yeah, you know, I'm sold more and more on it, and especially after watching this. How many seasons is it?
3 seasons.
How many episodes?
I want to say it's probably like 26 or 23 apiece. The last one might actually be 13, so it's not. It's like it's the syndicate. It's probably 65 in total. It's a syndication number. They reached syndication, so.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I mean, of course, there's other more kind of prominent things in the pop culture landscape, like Black Lightning, that I want to sort of catch up on first. But regardless, Dragon. I'm sorry, what?
Try to quote Shrek, it's on his to-do list, anyway.
Yes. But regardless, so Scooby-Doo and Batman Brave and the Bold, yeah, Dragon, this was a real treat for me. This kind of exceeded my expectations. I guess especially because I feel like sort of like the, the abuse victim with these 2 Scooby-Doo specials that we've covered before this, going from bad to worse. This is just... I don't know. There's just something to this. It's got such an energy to it. It's a lot of fun. It kind of calls to mind the Johnny Bravo Scooby-Doo episode where, you know, it's lovingly poking fun of the Scooby-Doo tropes. And yeah, I really don't have a lot of negative things to say about this, Dragon. It's quick, it's witty, it's fast-paced, it's got an all-star voice talent lineup. It's a great kind of meeting of 2 worlds here.
2 worlds, one finally.
Yep. It's also importantly, it's kind of a build up to Dragon. I was watching this on Watch Cartoons Online, and the link to the next episode after that on Watch Cartoons was Gotham by Gaslight.
I hope you relented from the impulse that we all shared.
I did. Don't worry.
Good. But yes, boy, Gotham by Gaslight.
I'm just saying, like, oh, it's physically up. Like, it's tangible now. All right.
I'm waiting for that physical release, folks, and boy, oh boy, it's I'm very much looking forward to it. And we're definitely gonna talk about it within the week.
For sure. Okay, so Dragon, what was your first reaction to this movie?
My first reaction is interesting. I remember the tail end of 2017. This was advertised, and I knew this was coming, but I just kind of forgot about it because I remember I remember it was coming out in January. And honestly, how it
Kind
kind
of
of happened.
feels like a footnote compared to Gotham by Gaslight. I got to admit, it kind of feels like a bat appetizer, if you will.
Yeah, because you got to remember, Gotham by Gaslight. It is, and I double checked it. It was the first official Elseworld story. It has like a big pedigree with that. Because basically, I'll talk about that with Gotham by Gaslight. The point is, Brave and the Bold, being a big fan of Brave and the Bold, and knowing that Scooby Doo, it constantly does these crossovers. Like one of the most recent crossovers with Scooby Doo before this was Scooby Doo and Kiss meets Kiss.
Which I really want to cover that sometime.
Maybe we got to go through the really good original four.
Of course. Like I'm just saying, like maybe for a season 2 of Scooby Doo movie month or something. Like,
yeah, by all means, sure. Yeah,
for movies.
Could absolutely do that. Sure. But so my point is, like, these are two things that are definitely on my radar and definitely brought back memories of kind of what we've already covered with the whole, the old school Batman Scooby Doo thing. So I thought it was like kind of a marriage made in heaven. And I kind of January came out, and I was kind of preoccupied watching the stuff I got for Christmas, and I kind of like it kind of dawned on me like practically the day it came out. Oh my God, that came out today!
Right.
So I kind of rushed out and I got it, and I watched it.
It was a treat, Dragon. Like I said, like for something that wasn't really like heavily marketed or celebrated or anything, this exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, because again, this essentially it falls into, and I think quality-wise, you'd agree. This was released essentially as Caped Crusaders was released, as Return of the Caped Crusaders and Batman versus Two-Face. It's not within the DC original animated line, but it was done by Warner's Animation, and I think honestly that's what probably got the big okay for this project. That, we're doing this stuff and people are loving the '60s Adam West stuff, and what else do we have in the what else do we have? Well, people. Brave and the Bold celebrates kind of the Silver Age of Batman. It also celebrates kind of it's kind of the closest thing we can have the '60s Batman animation without doing another Caped Crusaders. So they kind of realize, hey, let's bring back Brave and the Bold.
I still really, I would kill for that Burt Ward Nightwing movie, Dragon. Oh man, oh God, I would love that.
If you want to see the Burt Ward Robin as Nightwing, you got to read Wonder Woman 77 meets Batman 66.
That's what you were saying, yeah.
All right, so all that said, I guess getting into the backstory.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try to keep this brief. I also got to recap a little bit of Brave and the Bold here, so we'll see how quick I can keep this. So, Brave and the Bold was a 2008 was a series that came out in 2008, and it was kind of the idea behind it was, they wanted like kind of a more kid-friendly Batman on because, at that time, Dark Knight is going to be really popular, and let's just say Dark Knight is not really marketable with toys to the younger generation. So basically, they wanted to show, while we can have our dark, thought-provoking Batman in theaters that the adults can enjoy, wanted something that can, we can definitely market the heck out of and still, interest younger viewers. So they kind of thought, okay, let's go with a lighter direction animation, and around this, like a little before, we had the Batman, and before that we had Justice League. So those things were ramping down; they were kind of wrapping up, and we didn't really have much room to really kind of market Batman. So they go to James Tucker. James Tucker, he's been involved in the DCAU. He was brought in on Justice League, Batman Beyond, Justice League, Static Shock. The point is, the guy is a go-to with some of the highest quality productions that DC Animation had. So he MVP'd the show. He was the most important player involved in the show because he wanted to do a show that was a tribute to the Silver Age of the DC universe. And coincidentally, there was a comic series called Brave and the Bold. Now, Brave and the Bold was a comic series that was kind of brought back a couple times, and the very simple premises, usually with Batman, but not always. We'd pair together. We'd pair together kind of obscure characters. Like rarely would you see Superman or Wonder Woman teamed up with Batman. You wouldn't do the big three. You wouldn't do like your main guys. Use like all the kind of the odds and ends, the really kind of the unknown quantity characters of DC, and you'd pair them together. It'd be like kind of like a simple like bare minimum like a 2-person team up. So they basically took that concept and we brought it to animation, but we had to have the Batman hook. We're okay, so Batman is paired up with a character, very much like Brave and the Bold, so we'll call it Batman Brave and the Bold. And it was, the point is, it's an underrated, really cool show. It kind of celebrates, it's kind of within, it kind of made campy cool for a lot of people. That's really what it did. Like it was the show that famously made Aquaman awesome. That's one of the big claims to fame.
John DiMaggio's Aquaman is just freaking sublime.
And I'm in full agreement with that. It's probably one of my favorite Aquaman. There's a lot of people point out to Peter David, the serious Aquaman with the hook hand. Don't get me wrong, that has its appeal, and that's what they kind of go for in the they're trying to go for in the movies. But I think they realize
you have a hook hand in Justice League.
Yeah, Justice League the animated series.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't know he had a hook hand in Justice League.
He has a hook hand in Justice League, but that's from the comics. When Aquaman got like a real grungy reboot where he was like the broody king of Atlantis, and he had like a hook hand, and they did that in animation, and that's kind of they honestly kind of
sounds like what they were trying to go for with freaking Justice League.
It's kind of funny. They kind of blended them because it has like kind of the what people call the Broy Aquaman. It's kind of it's taking inspiration from like an alternative Aquaman like John DiMaggio, but lumping it with kind of that look wise that grungy Peter David Aquaman.
Mm.
Anyway, that's sidetracked. The point is, people were sold in the earnest. It's a very earnest show. It's a very it's very straightforward. It's silly, but it has it's like a tongue in cheek addressment of the silliness, kind of like '60s Batman, but had a lot of heart in it. Had a lot of heart. It did at times have its serious moments. The big famous example of this, one of the best episodes, written by Paul Dini, was Paul Dini wrote like three episodes of this show, and they were all fantastic. He did Chill of the Night, which finally brought the old story, and it was like the first time in animation this has been shown in like forever, of Joe Chill murdering the Waynes. It was the famous story from the early Batman comics where Batman confronted the man who killed his parents. It's an amazing episode. I can't recommend that one anymore highly, and they got Paul Dini to write. It was great. So again, they had their serious moments, but on the whole, it was very kind of light and fun and kid friendly. Again, anyone could watch the show and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. It got canceled in 2011, but had a great farewell where they brought in Henry Winkler as Ambush Bug, who was kind of like a fourth wall breaking character. And they also had Batmite. Batmite was voiced by Paul Rubens. They're basically kind of reality bending kind of entities and genie like characters.
Mm-hmm.
So the Batmite, and now here's where I get into Scooby Doo here. So here's how we get this. There was a Paul Dini episode with Batmite called Batman's Strangest Cases. And we almost talked about this. It's called Batman's Strangest Cases. Paul Dini wrote it and had a few vignettes of like the alternative Batmans. Like there's a Batman from Japan. There's like a Mad Magazine Batman. And the last segment is, or the middle of the last segment, homages the things Tiki and I have talked about with the new Scooby Doo movie crossovers, where they parody that like down to like that's the thing that is an identical sequel to those, where it's they have all the animation errors, they have the wrong sounding voices, they do every inconsistency but lovingly so, and it's hilarious. And they brought in essentially the voice cast we have here, and it was like an homage to the Scooby-Doo crossovers, and they did it like verbatim as much as they could. It was Batman crossing over with Scooby-Doo within a Brave and the Bold show. So that's where the seed of the idea came from that segment. And just based on the fact, as I mentioned before, Scooby-Doo does a lot of crossovers. They've been doing it since '72 with the new movies. And they keep doing it now with Kiss and all the other, the Loch Ness Monster do all sorts of the wrestling, all sorts of bizarre crossovers. So why not? And while bringing back Scooby-Doo, we can also bring back Brave and the Bold, again, kind of under the whole Cape Crusader explanation of it all. And lo and behold, we get a Batman Scooby-Doo crossover.
Yeah, and I really wish that more people were talking about this movie, Dragon, because like I said, just the quality of it and how sharp the writing was just really took me by surprise.
Oh, yeah, it's really nice to see a Detective Batman well represented again,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Okay, so with that in mind, folks, we're going to try and make this commentary as conversational as possible, but if you want to watch along with us, then go ahead and get your copy of this out and get to timestamp 000. And Dragon, we're going to make like Lethal Weapon 2 and do a 1, 2, 3, go, and we're going to go on go, right?
Yeah, we learned from Riggs and Murtaugh. We're going to go on go. So when Tiki says go, you go.
All right. Okay, you ready, Dragon?
1 second. Ready when you are.
All right. Okay, folks. Scooby Doo, Batman, Brave and the Bold in 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, Dragon. I think I prefer these sort of more offbeat, like Return of the Cape Crusader style Warner Brother animation movies.
So far, they've all been very very good. Like, never hasn't really been a bad one of the off-brand ones.
And maybe that's just because I feel like the
Mistake
ones
or
that are more
mistake.
closely tied together, you kind of need a little bit more comic background to get into.
I think you're right about that. And they're kind of reaching a broader audience with this. Yeah. Now, let me speak to this, because we have a kind of a classic Scooby Doo opening in the beginning here. So it's like, ever since Mystery Incorporated, that series I kept promoting, the other ones, ever since kind of that revamp, Scooby Doo's been making a comeback, kind of slowly but surely. And of course, right now we don't have like the best Scooby Doo series on, but the Scooby Doo movies have been making a comeback. So what you see here is a cross between the Mystery Incorporated series, but also kind of the new, like, the models look like the ones they use. The cast and the models are what they use in the new crossover movie. So they're kind of, it's like another in the, it feels like another in the line of the Scooby Doo movies they're making now, but kind of with the clever writing from like a mystery, the characterization of Mystery Incorporated, along with kind of the crossover appeal with Batman here.
Speaking of the crossover appeal, Dragon, it's very refreshing that like a minute and a half in, like there's Batman already. Like that didn't take long.
Oh yeah.
So Dragon, you have no idea how nice it was to get Matthew Lillard back as Shaggy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Matthew Lillard, he's the new voice of Shaggy in all the Scooby Doo, in all the new Scooby Doo stuff. Ever since Casey Kasem hung it up, Matthew Lillard's been essentially, he's been the guy.
So he was in Mystery Incorporated.
He was in Mystery Incorporated. I think it was Mystery Incorporated onward that he's become Shaggy. I think they might have.
I really need to watch Mystery Incorporated. You're selling me on this show more and more.
Mystery Incorporated, all the new crossovers, that's all Matthew Lillard, to what I understand. I don't think there's been one where they haven't used him. Again, maybe the new Not So Good series changed them, but I think everything else has been Matthew. No, it's still Matthew Lillard. They used him in that too. It's all Matthew Lillard.
I've got a real soft spot for Matthew Lillard.
No, but seriously, we have an excellent cast here, and I figure we'll save that for the opening credits. We'll talk about the cast when we get to the opening credits. But
Sure.
But I mean, this opening's good, and I've always been speaking to this. Like, the reason I was so game for this crossover, aside from the Brave and the Bold of it all, is that I've always wanted like Batman to be a part of this, because they would do what the kid in me has always wanted Mystery Incorporated to do. Like, you know what? Like, face the bad guys. Don't run away from them. You know, we have a guy who can actually punch them now. That's kind of what you have here. And also, we bring a few things from the Mystery Incorporated show with the characterizations now. Like Fred, he's very trap obsessed, and he's like, he trapped Batman. He's a little proud of himself there. So, we're kind of bringing those little elements there. And Daphne, she's more than a pretty face these days, but we're not making it overblown like Sarah Michelle Gellar. You know, she's not all kung fu-y.
Yeah, I mean, just characterization wise, I feel like this movie got everyone down.
Yeah, like Velma's a little sassy as they've been kind of going with her. So again, that Mystery Incorporated show really kind of revamped them very properly, and we've been rolling with that and all the crossovers and everything since. But now it has like kind of that great rounded Hanna-Barbera look. So they've reached. I think Scooby-Doo, on beyond what they're doing on network television right now, I think they're doing really good.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I like that. I really love the mystery aspect all throughout this. And again, right off the top here, we do have something that feels like the most that feels very 60s Batman-esque, with like the whole how convoluted this is, and how no one in their right minds could piece this mystery together, only except Velma Dinkley. That the fact that she can determine that it is. And again, there's like
about that is that I feel like the 60s Batman and Scooby-Doo, of course, being a product of the 60s, it fits so well with each other. It's like a match made in heaven.
And speaking of the 60s Batman, a lot of that is attributed to Diedrich Bader's. Diedrich Bader is a very underrated Batman, in my opinion. I've always loved Diedrich Bader's take on Batman in the show. He was a really good Batman, and what he did,
like a more grounded Will Arnett.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's a cross between Will Arnett and Adam West in a way, because what he's doing is he's like Adam West, who was his Batman. He's playing on the absurdity, and basically he's like it's a straightforward, earnest Batman. He's very intelligent, he's very earnest, but he's also kind of reactionary. Honestly, I've always said this. Well, I haven't said this to you, but I've always kind of with this Batman, because we didn't really talk about this Batman that much. This is kind of the Batman I always wanted to see Ben Affleck turn into, like a Batman who's seen it all, a Batman who's been around the block, and he's kind of a straight man to like a bigger than life DC universe.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dragon, I'm sure we'll be celebrating Ben Affleck as Batman for years to come.
I know, fine, yeah, yeah.
So one of the great pairings in this special movie, Dragon, I love Velma and Detective Chimp.
Oh yeah, Kevin Michael Richardson as Detective Chimp.
And of course, Detective Chimp, it's like that's such a character that feels like it's like tailor made for something like Brave and the Bold.
But yeah, I really like the whole mystery analyst of Gotham plot, and basically Batman kind of lumping him in, and Batman's crossing over everyone else. It kind of makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna add these guys into the fray.
Mm-hmm.
So like right here, we have an all-star cast going on. Like basically we blended like a Scooby Doo opening.
Seriously, like a who's who of voice acting talent, right?
It is, and what's so cool here is we took the Batman Brave and the Bold opening, but we kind of added the Scooby Doo into it, and kind of adding kind of that old kind of.
I love the eyeballs that we get from the old Scooby Doo movie intro.
Yeah, it's great. So it's kind of a fun little, great blend there. So again, we have an all-star voice cast. The wonderful Grey Griffin as Daphne, and I've always loved that casting. I think she's perfect in that role. Frank Welker back. The only voice actress that kind of changes now and again is they kind of go from back and forth on it. But we have Kate Micucci as Velma, and she's Sadie from Steven Universe, and I think she's good in the role. I like her.
Mm-hmm.
She's on the show I'm not so crazy about now, but with the Scooby Doo. But it's she's a good voice actress. I like her. She was also Clayface in the Lego Batman movie, which is kind of bizarre. Right. So also speaking of good voice actors, we have a great voice actor on the Riddler here. We have the great John Michael Higgins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was an excellent Riddler. He kind of brings a vaguely Gorshin-esque kind of. They rarely did anything with Riddler. So what's so great with Brave and the Bold coming back, we do things we never did in that show, but we're still doing things that the show was known for. So it's kind of the best of both worlds with the Brave and the Bold side of this, with the Batman.
Also, Dragon, I've been meaning to ask you, how often did Brave and the Bold do like team episodes like this?
They did it, but I mean, it wasn't like all the time. They did a few. There were a few team up episodes, but usually it's a one man pairing. But they built up like their like Aquaman would like show up and like they established they were in a universe where they've met each other before.
Okay,
but I mean they had like a few episodes.
That feels like it could be a special quality of this movie where all the Brave and the Bold incarnations of these characters are bouncing off each other more so than they would be in the show.
So right off the bat, we have Aquaman, we have The Question. Now, Tiki, I love The Question, and they did something here that made me so happy because Nicholas Guest, the voice of the Martian Manhunter, he also voiced the Martian Manhunter, but he also, in the show, he voiced The Question. He was okay as The Question, but they pulled the Justice League animated show Question, who was the best version of The Question ever, as the questioner, Jeffrey Combs. He does the voice of the Question, and it's like an old friend. It's like, oh man, that's the Question I grew up. That's the one that makes me want to know more about that character.
Right.
Now, in this scene, of course, it's a very pivotal scene for the plot. It's like a freeze frame moment we're gonna have later on with the Question. But while I will be glowingly talking about this film, but there are a few things that do. A few nitpicks, and there are a few like nitpicks plot-wise, but again, compared to the other Scooby stuff we've been talking about with the Batman crossovers, it's like pittance compared to it. But like for example, we use a really bizarre Catwoman model here. She never looked like that in the show, but I think they just wanted to pull like another.
I was not a fan of that either.
Yeah, they pulled like an obscure Catwoman design. It just feels like why would they always had the perfect like kind of the old school 40s Catwoman look. Why change it? Again, I think it was like we're kind of like doing what they usually do in the show, but like, given that they were back after a long time, I felt it was like, hey, let's shake it up a little. I'm not holding like any menace or malice against them. Or a very pivotal moment just happened for those tracking the mystery, but
right. Dragon, the one thing I will say is that I was kind of surprised that the mystery was so personal to Batman.
I know. I really love that. And I'll say this with the mystery itself, with the whole Crimson Cloak mystery. I echoed this to Tiki like before. I was just trying to when I was kind of selling him on the movie back when I first saw it. Honestly, I'm not saying it equates to like the mystery of Mask of the Phantasm for me, or Batman Return of the Joker, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. But I mean, it's been such a long time since we've had a mystery in the spirit of those, like a mystery that actually counted towards the plot, a mystery that actually meant something. And
Right, right.
it's been a long time. It was really refreshing. I really like that. And of course, we have some great Aquaman humor here. Like Edgar, do all the work. Just just John DiMaggio
I
having a
just love
blast.
the idea of Aquaman being snubbed from a detective group.
And Aquaman is always like, this Aquaman always boils down in a wondrous way. And again, I put Aquaman in that Christmas special we pitched for Justice League because again, he's so beloved as this character. It was an Aquaman cameo where he says outrageous. That's his catchphrase. But this is an Aquaman who owned he reveled in his absurdity and he loved it. He was such a like a lovable, jovial character. He was like the John Belushi of superheroes. He's so wondrous and full of energy.
Mhm.
And I love this here that Velma, the Velma Dinkley is so ridiculously smart that she could, again, I love that she's not super close to it, but that she could feasibly figure out that Bruce Wayne's Batman. And we kind of teased that a little here. She's been crunching the numbers, she's been working the theories. The ultimate unmasking.
Did we ever get any Bruce Wayne in Brave and the Bold?
Very rarely, because the initial mission statement of the show was it's not a show about Bruce Wayne, but he did show up at least like 3, maybe 4 times.
Okay.
That's the thing. Bruce Wayne was very again the Paul Dini episode, Chill of the Night was like that's a major Bruce Wayne episode. So that, it's rarely did they use Bruce Wayne.
So I love this whole this running gag of Daphne being really good at word jumbles and that kind of saving the day at certain points.
And again, I love that we finally gave Daphne more to do than just being the pretty face in the gang.
Yeah, like you said, it's more developed than just like, hey, she's really good at kung fu. Weirdly,
yeah. It's like she's got a hobby and she's good at it. And usually, like Daphne's other folks, I'm kind of like thinking of Mystery Incorporated because that's really what's kind of fresh in my mind. But she was like the one who kept focus. Like she was kind of like the one who kept focus in the gang and stuff.
I could see that.
Yeah. Okay, now the cookie. Now I have a rant about this cookie thing. So the Martian Manhunter loves Chacos. He loves his fictional cookie. He goes gaga for it, and that's why they had this running gag in here, and that's something from the comics and everything. But as the Chacos are like they're knockoffs of Oreos because they couldn't get the rights to Oreos. So that still bugs me that they made like chocolate chip cookies, and they said yes, they were Chacos. It's a little nitpick, but it just bugs me because again, it's like they're his. I get he likes cookies, and what they did is in the show he didn't eat Chacos, but he ate that exact model of cookies. Why not just don't call them Chacos? Just have those cookies.
Dragon Yod, I wish they would have done. I wish they would have just called them bat cookies.
But we have it later, though. We have it later.
You're not wrong.
I'm just saying and also we have another favorite from the show. We have Plastic Man and Tom Kenny. Tom Kenny was always. They have a new Plastic Man. They have one of the characters from Aqua Teen Hunger Force does Plastic Man on the new Justice League show.
Oh God, is it the Meatwad actor?
Yeah, Meatwad, that guy. No, not Meatwad. It's the Shake.
Shake. Okay, that's not as bad. That's not as bad.
He's the one. He's not bad. I'm just saying Tom Kenny. This is like everyone's Plastic Man.
Meatwad really annoys me.
The point is this is everyone's Plastic Man, Tom Kenny. He always did an excellent job, and I was so delightful to hear him again.
And I will say, like, all these veteran voice actors, they kind of disappeared to their roles. You know what I mean? Like, John DiMaggio isn't like the usual, like, Bender style John DiMaggio. You can barely tell that Plastic Man is the same guy that plays SpongeBob. It's like they're all kind of chameleons, and it just goes to show the talent they all have.
Let me test you on this. Gray Delisle or Gray Griffin. I'm sorry, I'm hooked on Delisle's versus Griffin, but she also does the voice of Black Canary.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, so with Plastic Man, it's another. This is a smaller gripe. Is just that with the again, there's so few gripes. So with
Hold on, can we just talk about how hilarious this Aquaman setup is?
I love what John DiMaggio's doing here. He's parodying Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther, and I think it cracks me up so much. You seem to have forgotten yours. Just for the record, I'm rolling my eyes. Just the end. Jeffrey Combs back as the question makes me so happy, and we're doing this fun stuff with it. I'm so delighted.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he's trying to cover up his catchphrase, Eureka! But yeah, the mystery analyst of Gotham. I love the idea. I love this mystery gang using a lot of detective characters. I think we're kind of bending the rules a little because some of these heroes aren't necessarily detectives. But I'll give it a pass. I'm just saying it's like Black Canary and Arrow now. She's a detective on the police force, so I get that. And with Plastic Man, they keep making this. There's the age-old mistake with Plastic Man. Everyone makes it. Is that they keep mixing him and the other stretchy DC superhero up. There's Elongated Man, who is the detective, and Plastic Man, who's the ex-con.
Ah.
And they keep on the Flash. The Flash characterizes him like Plastic Man, but he's not. It's fun. They're both fun. They're both fun.
They do mention the XCOM thing with Plastic Man.
They do, and that's the thing. Brave and the Bold was like a great take. They did the whole Plastic Man origin. The cool thing they added with Plastic Man is that Batman felt responsible for him falling in a vat, very much like the Joker fell in a vat of acid. He fell into a vat of chemicals that gave him his powers. And Batman, he basically did the courtroom thing where he goes in there and he testifies on behalf of leniency for Eel O'Brien, and that's why Plastic Man, even though he wants to go back to a life of crime, he owes Batman. So there's a lot of great stories in Brave and the Bold with all these characters that are in continuity in this movie.
Like after watching this movie, I feel like the perfect thing or maybe not the perfect. Perfect is too strong a word, but a great road to go down with DCEU would be like a Plastic Man movie in the style of Ant-Man.
I mean, I could see it. And again, technically, they haven't done Plastic. Again, they're kind of screwing up like how they're doing Elongated Man, but they haven't done Plastic Man technically.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the old.
I think Plastic Man would be a better bet than Shazam or Kazam, or it's Shazam, right? Shazam is a Shaquille O'Neal movie.
It is not Kazam, Tiki. It's Shazam, or what he actually is, Captain Marvel, but they're going to call him Shazam. Right. Oh, I love this runner here. The Martian Manhunter, he's so dry in this. And, it's not as great as the Justice League's Martian Manhunter, but again, with Nicholas, yes.
Yeah, Justice League Martian Manhunter was the one that I was kind of introduced to, so I'm kind of like more hooked on that one, too.
And that one ate Oreos. That's what I'm talking about. That's the Chocos. That's they use the knockoff Oreo there. I think that's a little more. I love Parent Aquaman with Scooby Doo here. It's like my canine compadre. It's a little feel-good moment there. Scooby and Aquaman, they're going to be pals. That's nice. And of course, like I emphasize with Fred here being head over heels for someone who sounds like Greg DeLisle. So I'm all,
right.
I get him. Now that was a really beautiful bit right here. And John DiMaggio, he does this just right because it's kind of a gag, but he poses this question to Batman, like, hey, chum, now we're alone here. Confide in your old pal. Did you lose another Robin? I love that he's actually asking him there, like, hey, did you lose someone? Is that why you're down in the dumps? I'm here for you, buddy.
Yeah, there's some moments in this movie that kind of surprisingly go very deep.
Because Aquaman is like, he's in like one of the earliest episodes. He is like a regular kind of friend of, like, he's like the overzealous one in Batman. Batman's the straight man to all these heroes. That's very much kind of what they do there. So he's like a perfect pairing with Aquaman.
Right.
And again, I like that we established this thing where Batman has this one unsolved case. When the minute they had that as a plot, I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. Okay, Batman's got this one unsolved case. And again, it's like it's a kind of a, not a bone of contention, but everyone's kind of pondering to themselves, like, hey, what's this one case all about? Why is Batman really skittish about it? We don't know either. He keeps his secrets. Again, this is the detective stuff, and it feels like kind of the best version of what we always hinted at with Scooby Doo back in the early days, like Scooby Doo, where are you? Where, hey gang, look at this. We basically, Where we do real Sherlock Holmesian kind of stuff here, where we look at the indentations, the ink marks, and they're kind of one-upping each other here. I thought
Which, of course, has always been the big sell with Batman beating Scooby Doo. Is like, hey, they're both detectives.
yeah, we're finally doing genuine detective work aside from, hey, there's a guy in a bat costume who's just
Oh God! Oh, those old specials, Dragon. Oh man.
Again, here's the stuff with the Eel O'Brien, and yes, cold is a problem for Plastic Man.
Just like I said, a very Ant-Man like origin.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's pretty much the same. It's next con story. So even if you take the Batman out of the equation, Plasman's still got a good story to him.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, there was this Injustice, the video game. Again, it's far better than the game itself, but the comic series based on the game. They're onto the sequel now, and they gave Plastic Man a son, and it's a really good story. They gave Plastic Man like a grown son, like he had a son that like way back in the day, and like now his son also has stretchy powers, and he's a really good story. Nice. Okay, now here the Crimson Cloak here. The Crimson Cloak I love as a design because one, it's vaguely Phantasm-esque. But what it really is, it feels so much. The design in the face is so Scooby Doo. I love how he looks so Scooby Doo-esque. He looks like a kind of the classic ghost from the Scooby Doo lineup.
Yeah, and that's another fun thing about Batman meeting Scooby Doo is we kind of get that compare and contrast between Scooby Doo villains, Batman villains, kind of like the spookiness of Batman.
Yeah. Now, with the Crimson Cloak, I had a theory going into this movie because again, Crimson Cloak also reminded me of another character from honestly some of the recent Batman comics. When I say recent, I mean like probably like now, like 5 years ago. Time flies, folks. I don't tell you.
Right.
But yeah, there was this character who he looked very similar to with the red gimmick and everything, especially when we get into the origin flashback. The Crimson Cloak, I thought he was this character. I thought it was like a Scooby Doo take on, like, for the purposes of this movie. I thought it was a different take on this character called Mr. Toxic, who essentially his gimmick, it's red and black, and he was kind of a red toxic gas kind of character. He looked very similar to kind of a he looks similar to the Crimson Cloak. Look it up afterwards, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just very much like a skull and crossbone type design, like a guy with a gas helmet.
Uh-huh.
And again, especially when we learn one of the guys involved in the revenge plot for Crimson Cloak, his name was Scarlet. That sounded identical to kind of like, hey, his origin is also very similar to the origin of Mr. Toxic. So that's kind of where I was gleaming a lot of this stuff from. But I like that there are breadcrumbs of like who you think it might be, and who you think it might be actually really isn't who it is. I mean, we'll get into it as it goes on.
Of course, that's classic Scooby-Doo misdirection for you.
Yeah, and again, it was a really well thought out mystery, I thought.
Red herring.
Well, he is red, so I like that.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I don't remember in Brave and the Bold if we did the aquakinesis that Aquaman's doing here. And again, that's like an example of them, like, if they didn't do that in the series, it's an example of them coming back to the fray and like, hey, we're back, let's do some new stuff. And there's an example of something that's working. You know?
Yeah, and like I said, I appreciate, even though I haven't really watched Brave and the Bold, I appreciate that it's kind of like a killing two birds with one stone of like, hey, we get the nostalgia from Brave and the Bold and Scooby-Doo.
Now, speaking of which, one, I love this malt shop, and I love that Batman very PSA-like in the beginning says, you kids shouldn't be out here solving mysteries, you should be going to malt shops. But what I love here is that, speaking of the telekinesis, the aquakinesis thing, Harvey Bullock was never in the show, and we finally got him. We finally got Bullock in Brave and the Bold.
And he's great. He's wonderful in this movie.
He's so fun the way he interacts with these kids. And let's just say in Mystery Incorporated, there is a Bullock-like character who is voiced by Patrick Warburton.
Oh, God.
Who's a regular. He's the cop of the town. He's the sheriff of the town. He's recurring, and you'd love him. But yeah, Bullock here, he's voiced by Fred Tatasciore. And Fred Tatasciore, essentially what I think he's doing kind of like a Canadian Dan Aykroyd voice. And I think it's hilarious.
He kind of reminds me, like, vaguely of like an old school Private Eye voice.
Yeah, I mean, he does. I love it. I'm so delighted that he is written very much like a Bullock who, again, while it is kind of in that Silver Age, and Bullock was never in the Silver Age, which is why this is an even greater pull. Because, again, it's like them kind of creating their own Silver Age mythology in a way.
Sure.
is that Bullock here, like the animated series, which is what everyone remembers Bullock from. Really, I mean, everyone really remembers Bullock from the animated series. Like, he's not too
I
keen
mean,
on Batman. I'm sorry.
well, I just said for good reason.
Yeah. And also, again, the one mention of Commissioner Gordon, it's a great line where, again, at least in reference that Gordon is better mentioned than Chief O'Hare is mentioned in the other in the other specials. Like, I don't think Commissioner Gordon would approve what you're doing here, Bullock. And come back when the donuts are fresh,
Now, again,
Bullock.
Dragon, you're going to have to kind of guide me through Brave and the Bold. Gordon, is he a fixture on Brave and the Bold or not?
Fixture by no means. Like he appeared. There was a parody of Gordon, and Gordon actually appeared one other time. There's like
Oh, wow, okay.
two appearances, possibly a third. Like he only spoke twice out of them.
I feel like Gordon is. I feel like this whole show is almost kind of like a deconstruction of Batman in some ways.
Some ways, yeah.
Kind of like getting rid of a lot of the familiar tropes we associate with Batman.
Again, it's Batman in the DC universe. Like you're rarely in Gotham. I mean, you're in Gotham, but you don't like have all your usual fixtures. Like again, it's less a Batman show. It's more Batman in everyone else's show, which is kind of
Gotcha.
fun. Now, of course, I love here with the little hologram. We explore our suspects, our red herrings, and we do see a number of them in this thing. We see there's Clayface, Joker, and a few Ortiz there, and I think strategically so.
Mm-hmm. Greg, did they do a redesign of the Joker in this show at some point?
In Brave and the Bold?
Because isn't this the show where the Joker originally had the dreadlock look?
No. That's the Batman take. You're thinking
of
the Batman.
Okay, I gotcha. My bad.
This is no, I love this flashback so much, and I love this, and I love in the year one for the Silver Age, and logically this makes sense. The year one for the Silver Age is the Bob Kane design of the Bill Finger influenced Bob Kane design of Batman from 39 with the purple gloves and everything. I love that so much, and we've seen that a couple times. Whenever we flash back to younger Batman, he's in this suit, and I love that. So this whole origin here. One, I love how we kind of add some cool retroactive elements to it here, where we kind of explain who a few of these players are here. But I mean, again, this origin, I was dead on thinking, hey, it's like Mr. Toxic. There's a lab accident. There's a red theme. The guy's name is Scarlet. Okay, I'm thinking Mr. Toxic.
Right.
But again, I love being wrong on that though. It was good. They were good mysteries doing. And again, this whole thing here where Batman feels guilty, again, very similar to like a lot of instances, especially in the early Batman stories where he's holding on to a character like the Red Hood, let's say, and of course the guy falls, and he's going to feel a little guilty for that, depending.
Mm-hmm.
But again, here I love that Batman, especially this very morally kind of West-esque Batman here. He's he blames himself for that death, and I love. Will be established here. The father has always
like we've never really seen Adam West Batman have a lot of self-doubt. You know what I mean? He was never that deep of a character.
You're right about that. Like again, the one death we had, he just says, "Poor deluded girl."
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, this line, Batman has a line talking about Dr. Milo, who's the mad scientist who created the thing. Now, Dr. Milo, he's also in the animated series. So we'll get to him one of these days. But Dr. Milo. He had a cold open. Brave and the Bold did a lot of cold opens. And in the cold opens, he references that Milo was killed. He was eaten by rats. And I kid you not, that is they allude to that in the cold open. It's an episode of Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill plays the Spectre, and the Spectre's all about he uses magic, and he's like an evil kind of ghost essentially, and he believes in kind of the vengeance over justice. So what he does is after Professor Milo's defeat, he was experimenting on rats. He turned Milo into cheese, and we cut away, and we know what happens. The rats attacked him, and he was.
Oh God! Ooh, jeez.
That's what he's alluding to right there. He says it's not pretty. Don't ask. He just says don't ask because that's what. So again, I look back on it because it's been a while, and oh my God, there's such continuity in this.
Nice.
And again, they're pulling from a lot of sources here. We rarely ever saw Arkham Asylum in Brave and the Bold, and this is the Arkham Asylum from the animated series. It's the same model of Arkham.
I figured, yeah, it looked very similar.
I love that with Arkham Asylum here. It's a location that we never saw with Scooby Doo. They never went to asylums or prisons. If you really think about Scooby Doo, it's like a no-brainer. But
theory that Scooby Doo was set during the Great Depression, right?
What do you mean?
Basically that's the reason why all the businesses are run down and everyone's like desperate for money.
That's a cool theory, but obviously over time would not hold as much water. But that's a cool idea with the original Scooby Doo. I like that.
Yeah, that's mostly where it stems from, is like the original like Where Are You series.
So with the flag again, there's a lot to decompress with flashback. But two things I want to hit on because one, we have John Michael Higgins here as the Riddler and kind of doing kind of a menacing kind of Riddler from the cell that Velma can stand up to, and he likes that. Okay,
That's a great Velma moment, by the way. Velma, I feel like, is a character where she's more difficult than other characters to do, right? Like, you know, like Shaggy and Scooby, everyone can do it like the back of their hand. I feel like Fred is a very easy character to do. Like, I feel like Fred's characterization is really kind of leaned into self-parody, which is good.
yeah,
But Velma's tricky. Velma's tricky.
you're right about that. And of course, Velma, she's the brains of the outfit. You gotta get her right.
Mm-hmm.
So so with the Riddler here, one of the things I love with this kind of this take on the Riddler is that in his days before he was even Edward Nygma, really, he was working with he was working with Milo, and the idea that Batman he was unable to save Scarlet, but he was able to save Magni, who was revealed to be Edward Nygma. Again, thanks to the word jumble, with Daphne. And again, it's something that one I love that I kind of love that Batman never solved that. I think it's like again just for the purpose of this crossover. I think hey, Daphne kind of solved something that Batman never solved. And it's like oh my god, I never put it together. But I just love that Riddler's taunting him with like hey, you couldn't have saved. You didn't save that one guy. His revenge is on you. But hey, you saved me. Thanks. This is him taunting Batman. It's like you saved me, but I ain't grateful.
And
Well,
of course, this whole setup is very like Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs-esque.
Yeah, and I love he has like kind of this. It is kind of the convenient clue that he has. Like he has this crypt with like the lab coat just at the ready, and of course we learn later on why that is. But I'm just saying in this moment it seems really inconvenient. Like it seems really not inconvenient. It seems really, it seems really convenient that hey, it's he's always had this little clue at the ready on the grounds of Arkham Cemetery.
So you got to love the Bates burgers.
Yes, the Bates burgers.
Yeah. Dragon, might I just say, all these selections feel like something that you would get at like a Halloween Horror Nights dining experience.
I just will say, like the knife and the burger scene, the Bates burger does seem like a horrible idea for an asylum. It looks great, and again for Horror Nights, be perfect. And again, speaking of Horror Nights, again, just the mystery gang in Arkham Asylum, it's a no-brainer. I just love it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And again with the Riddler and just with with the revenge plot here. Again, I love that Batman he assumes like the way he's putting it together right now. He believes the father of Scarlet. He blamed Batman for his son's death for him not saving his son in a lab accident. I love that compiles to the guilt that Batman's feeling, and that's why he's just he's willing to face the music here, but he just he needs to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I love that Batman. He's truly feeling bad in this, and again, like the one guy I saved, it's the Riddler. Oh, like I couldn't have saved the other guy, and instead I save an enemy. Darn it! And again, the Riddler just taunting him over that. I just love it in that previous scene. I just want to give that against him taunting him over. You saved me. Thanks for that. Ha ha ha! You failed though, Batman. And finally, Scooby Doo and hitting people. Finally,
Been a long time coming, folks.
Yeah, it's my boyhood fantasy come true. Like we do something like Batman the Animated Series, but with Scooby Doo, and it's the closest I'm ever going to get to it. Now this is cool. Now these two characters were never paired together. Harley Quinn had one episode, and they did the same design though, and it's funny. Tara Strong's doing both voices. Yeah, this is funny too. It's I think she has a great Harley Quinn. She had like there was an accent done with the other Harley Quinn. The idea is she's dressed like a flapper. Like when she's out of like the prison stripes, she was like dressed like a 1920s flapper, and she was in black and white, and it was kind of strange and offbeat. But again, this revamp bringing her back, she actually sounds like Harley Quinn, and you bring in Tara Strong and do the voice, and the mallet gag, it just cracks me up. Where did you get that?
Oh, the mallet gag is like a perfect example of like kind of like the Johnny Bravo style, like making fun of the ridiculousness of cartoons.
Yeah, so I mean, again, they're doing things they weren't able to do a lot of in the old show, and it's coming back wonderfully.
Oh God, Drake! It's just like I said in the old show, like especially that last one we covered, there was so much just spinning the wheels and just like going through the motions, you know.
Yeah, and of course this is fun here. A food fight in Arkham Asylum. Again, it's like perfect for something that you want to market the kids to. It's like, hey, we're in Arkham Asylum, a place filled with murderers, and technically Killer Croc's a cannibal, but we're gonna get away with it because hey, we're having food fights.
Well, as I
I
said, it works perfectly with the Scooby Doo crossover appeal because characters like Two Face and Killer Croc, like they fit so naturally into the Scooby Doo villain mold.
They do, especially Two Face.
Oh yeah, very much so.
By the way, I love like the splash pages we do, like the pow zap and wham for Scooby and Shaggy eating and running away with the food, and also it was a little it was like a blink and you miss it joke, but it was a smart joke where Poison Ivy, she named her little hair flower that turned into a giant mutant plant flower. She named it Georgia, as in Georgia O'Keeffe, the woman who painted the flowers.
Ah.
So I love that. That's a clever gag, and that's great. Now we take the classic Scooby Doo gag, the whole running from doorway to doorway, the Johnny Bravo gag, if you will. And we do it with that, and we have Batman the mixed fight, and the guys chasing him. And again, this is my wish fulfillment right here. This is great. And there's so many characters I could name drop here. I mean, again, you have like Funhouse, you got King Tut, you got Music Meister, who's Neil Patrick Harris singing, not in here, but in the episode.
Yeah, like this movie kind of has almost a I mean, I don't want to say a Lego movie quality to it, but I guess that's kind of like the de facto term right now for like an everything in the kitchen sink in terms of the fan base style movie, you know what I mean? Or maybe like a Peanuts movie style thing where it's like it just feels like every note they could possibly hit with both Brave and the Bold and Scooby Doo, they do.
Okay, now there's a bit coming up that put just the utter delight on my face. It was such an earnest bit. It's like a little small moment that just filled me with such. It really touched me in a way of like. It just felt like the perfect reference to the old Scooby Doo crossers, where Batman he pulls out the bat flashlight and Fred does, and Batman gives this little smile here, the little I'm impressed smile because I've always loved good lighting with a flashlight in Batman as well as many other like comics art and just detective stuff. Always loved the flashlight movement. Fred is in Scooby Doo is known for always going with the flashlight and saying, "Gang, let's split up," and he always has a flashlight handy. And again, I've remarked all the time through Batman the animated series, like I love when Batman has a flashlight, or on Gotham when Jim Gordon has a flashlight, and just seeing like that Batman kind of acknowledge that with that little smirk, and this Batman would do that. And it's like, oh my God, that's so nice. It's such a beautiful little acknowledgement of hey, there's keen detective minds think alike. It's so wonderful. Yeah. It's by the way kind of funny. Scooby's kind of sniffing down here. In the previous scene when they met the Riddler, it was a pointless moment where he sniffed because they knows where the Riddler is. What do you need him to sniff out? You know exactly where the Riddler's cell is.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah.
With my love of Batman gadgets, I went on with the flashlight. I love this is a new gadget I've never seen before in Batman. I loved it. The plaster cast capsule. I love it so much. He took the footprint, he took a little plaster cast. And it wasn't ice, it was plaster, and it was awesome. Oh my, you never see that in Batman. It's great.
So, Dragon, one of the things I like about just the theme of the movie is it's essentially like Batman is sticking up for the hip young youth.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're not bad.
Okay, now I will say, now, as much as I've been, again, all the other stuff I pointed out are nitpicks that don't matter. This is one plot issue that is kind of a problem. Again, compared to the other Scooby-Doo movies, it's by no means anything. But seriously, though, this is kind of a head scratcher when you really think about it. Now we do have a frame up going on, but in that earlier malt shop scene, basically Bullock he doesn't trust these kids. Doesn't he's thinking that these kids are suspects because they will not to preserve the secrecy of the mystery analyst of Gotham. They're not saying we're working with Batman. Then Batman shows up. And you'd think, okay, well now Batman Bullock puts two and two together. Okay, Batman's working with the teenagers, and now they're making it look like a conspiracy. And my point is, why is Bullock still suspecting them after, okay, they're working with Batman on a case. The mystery analyst of Gotham's secret is out of the bag. I mean, it's not that big a deal. They're working together, and now it's like, now they're fugitives on the run. I don't mind them getting to the point of fugitives on the run because that's what our story needs. But again, like how we get there is a little clunky, is all.
I agree that how we get there is clunky, and I feel like that is kind of a weak point with the movie, and I wish that we would have spent a little bit more time on it.
Yeah, because honestly, again, we need to get to that point where, okay, so we need Batman on the run as you know, as a fugitive. And that's a classic thing. What I love with that, okay, aside from the Daphne catcher, just for my own personal enjoyment, was like, yeah, good for Batman. But aside from that, so this feels out of basically this and one other scene in this movie feels mandated. The other scene is a little less, a little more acceptable. I feel here's like, okay, we need kind of not heroes fighting each other, but we need kind of need them to pursue them and just have some cool, like a cool chase scene. We need a cool chase scene that involves our other heroes. We need to see them kind of.
I will agree with you on the obligatory nature of it with the heroes.
Yeah.
Having said that, I love the idea of Joker being in a car and Penguin being in a car, and then both those cars being stuffed to the brim with like B-list villains.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have less a problem with that one.
I love that, Dragon. That is just like, that to me is just so inspired.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. I'm saying the other one is I'm more cool with. I'm just saying it definitely feels like, I'll explain when we get to that one why it's a little mandated. But again, it's not bad mandated. I'm just saying this one feels like, yeah, we were probably told to put this in here. This one. But yeah, it's
we do have fun with Scooby driving the mystery machine, though.
We do, but again, I gotta look at No Man's Land is a great reference. I love the way in the
directions.
Two things. I love when we do it again. We do it again momentarily. I love like it's like a new. I've never seen this expression on Batman before, and I loved it. Kind of the just that exasperated Batman, like the little, like the flat brow Batman with the eyes, the way the cowl goes, where the eye slits go, like, I'm so tired of this, like that look. Basically, that whole I can't believe that just worked. That look I've never seen on Batman. I love that we go to No Man's Land. I love that we use characters who were in No Man's Land and like in Bloodhaven and No Man's Land here with Bane and Blockbuster. No Man's Land is the famous comic that we definitely saw referenced in Dark Knight Rises with Gotham's a part of Gotham City is rocked by an earthquake. In this case, it's a bad part of town called No Man's Land.
I love Matthew Lillard's accent in this delivery.
Yeah.
Also, Dragon, it passed, but the introduction of Bullock, one of the big laugh out loud moments for me in this whole movie is when they're talking about the use of the word gang.
All right, yeah, we're not a gang. We're just, we're not a gang. I mean,
we're the gang. Like, we often refer to ourselves as the gang, but we're not an actual, like, street affiliating gang.
Yeah. Now, we go to this bar one or two other times in the series, and it's a really good episode with the Joker, actually, where Joker, we switch the perspective. So instead of Batman teaming up with someone for an episode, it's Joker teaming up with one of the villains, and Batman is the bad guy.
Oh, nice.
We basically did it from Joker's perspective, where Joker's the hero, and he took over the show for an episode.
Mm-hmm.
He teamed up with the guy, he's the Weeper. He's the guy with the top hat and the long white hair. That's who he teamed up with. He was voiced by Tim Conway, a Barnacle Boy from SpongeBob. Anyway. Again, this is great. I assume
that the Joker was not a major character in the show.
Joker was used sparingly, but he appeared a number of times. He's voiced by Jeff Bennett, but the first season they really build the Joker. They don't waste Joker. Like, he's a big deal because they wanted to do a show without Joker for a while. And then just because they loved him so much, Jeff Bennett does the voice of the Joker, Johnny Bravo himself. And he did an excellent job with it, and they just kind of fell in love. They introduced Joker in the best way possible in the first season. They did. Joker was the last team up of the first season. That was the last team up of season one, I think. Because it was an Owlman. I'll talk maybe some other time. But yeah, we did. Now here's what I mean by mandated. So, in Brave and the Bold, they were big fans of the old Hanna-Barbera, when they had all the cars like all the great Black races. Pacers. Yeah, that one. And in the show, they loved and I've collected all these vehicles with my Batmobiles. They love all the old school 40s, like the Joker mobile and the Penguin mobile. Like, these are cars from the comics, and they kind of mixed that idea together, so they'd have a lot of vehicle focus in the show. And it's basically, this is like a mandate from the show of like, well, we love doing our old school vehicle car chases, but it was a fun little reflection. It was like, yeah, they did that because they love doing these types of chases.
Like I said, Dragon, I love the idea of the cars like just stuffed to the brim, like almost like clown car status of B-grade villains with Joker and Penguin driving.
With the Joker, it makes all the sense in the world. And what I love about it, Tiki, what I love about this, okay, Bat Club, sorry, Bat Club is awesome. Anyway, sorry. Like the old school, like the pointless locking mechanism on the car, the jack, or like the club. Anyway, what was I getting? Oh yes, so I love that we found a way to work in Penguin and Joker like we did. Again, the Penguin Joker are our main bad guys like we did in the old Scooby Doo adventures, in the old new Scooby Doo movies. But here we worked them in into like a little sequence. At least we got them in there, and it didn't feel like it didn't feel too mandated. It just felt like, hey, there they are.
Right. The
two A-list villains among all these B-listers, like Catman and Ten-Eyed Man. I love that Daphne was, again, I love how we give Daphne a character. She was the one who was most gun-ho to jump from the Mystery Machine to the Batmobile. Again, we're making Daphne's fun. She's just fun, you know?
If I had a nitpick, I would say the CGI on the Joker mobile is a little off.
And again, that's something the series always had the CG vehicles. They never got around it. They always did that. So that's, again, it's good with the bad, you know? Okay, now this is the best gag in the movie. It's the best joke in the whole movie, right here for me. The Martian Manhunter, because again, it's going to be such like an R-rated gag, where Batman not an R-rated. It's going to be such like a Batman Returns moment where you expect that he's going to light the fire, which the Martian Manhunter's weakness is fire, and he's going to do like the thing from Returns, where it's okay, he's going to the afterburner is going to get the Martian Manhunter, and then he's going to let go. But instead, we do this wonderfully PC subversion of that with the cookies, like a measure for the Martian Manhunter, which again you're seeing flamethrower. Oh my God, he's going to use a flamethrower and just cookies. Cookies makes him mine. Cookies mine. It's such a wonderful, earnest gag. You know, it's such a wonderful.
To me, I guess it didn't really strike as much of a chord with me because I didn't really know about the cookies running gag from the show.
Either way, just the subversion of it all, I think, is still really funny.
No, it is fun. It is well timed.
Yeah. And again, now we're back on the right path here again. Our heroes are fighting the villains, and get some splash pages here. And this is nice here. And again, they always had the blindfolds in the old specials here. But I like that we have a Batman here with this Brave and the Bold Batman. He's a Batman who's kind of what we're trying to get to in the comics now these days. A Batman who's a little more optimistic, who's a little more trusting. And Batman, he's figuring, I don't need the blindfold. We're going through like the back way, and they're not going to be able to find it. You just take them to the '60s entrance of the Batcave. Again, which is very similar. It's like the breakaway part of the cave and everything. I like that we worked in back seats. It's like something they only did for this movie, but it looks great. Love how it back seats. I just love how they worked in.
Can you imagine, Dragon? That could be like a potential, like if they were to ever design a ride vehicle based on the Batmobile that needs more than just the passenger seat and the driver's seat. That would be like a nice design choice.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm the ride vehicle, and I agree with you full-heartedly. Again, that exasperated lidded Batman just still cracks me up. It's like the third time we've done it. I think it's the last time, so it's I'll say on that. Of course, here we're seeing the landmarks of Batman. Again, this is a great Batman. The Scooby Doo, this crossover is a great thing to show kids because it has all of these iconic Batman moments in it. We have the giant Penny, the dinosaur, and the cases full of the suits. Even Ace the Bat Hound, which again, in Antigua, I remember building this up in the other two specials. Scooby had aspirations to be a hero like Batman, especially in the first.
Yeah. You were definitely building that up.
And as we'll see here, we have a wonderful payoff here, where again, Scooby's seen Ace the Bat Hound. Scooby knows who Ace the Bat Hound is, and he gets a chance to really, kind of fulfill that age-old like Scooby Doo wanting to be a hero thing.
Mm-hmm. So as soon as I saw this, Dragon, I was like, yeah, it's Clayface, isn't it?
And here's the thing. Here's what's brilliant about that, Tiki. Yes, it obviously is Clayface, but they play on that. And that's the thing that you think, it's very simple. Again, if you're a comics fan, or a Batman, if you know enough about Batman, you know who it is. It's Clayface.
I mean, isn't that like kind of like the go-to thing where it's like, oh look, it's a hero and he's robbing a bank. Oh no.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like they yeah, it's very simply he's the ultimate red herring for this movie. It's Clayface, who is involved, but he's not the guy
Uh-huh.
necessarily, and I thought that was great. And again, it's like it is absolutely who you think it, and that's why I'm so proud of this mystery here. Well, again, it's not a super in depth mystery, but at the same time,
I mean, it's not Nolan.
that's what I'm saying. Well, no one really. Well, yeah, you're right. I guess Batman Begins is more of a mystery then. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's not groundbreaking, but it is clever what they did there.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now I love this. Now again, I love this strategically because we can't have Alfred here because while Batman will allow him in the cave, he won't show him who Alfred is. Because obviously, if Alfred,
yeah, I get that. Yeah.
yeah, I could buy them doing the whole Alfred with the mask thing, though, like they did in the Batman movie. I could absolutely see him doing that, but it's fine. But what I love here, though, more so, and of course, I love the food dehydrator, and I love how it pays off. But I love this. One because I buy the idea. It's so perfectly a Silver Age Batman idea. I buy so much that this was in an obscure Batman comic from the Silver Age. That he freeze dried, like he shrunk down, he dehydrated the food so he could eat full course meals on the go like this. And I love that idea. And of course, we tie it into another element of the '60s Batman movie, and it's perfect. I love it. But I mean, yeah, this moment he has with Velma is really good too. Again, it's a Batman who's putting trust into these teenagers. He's showing that he's trying to harness their full potential.
Yeah, that's exactly what I like. To use a term that I often like to coin with Luke Cage, Dragon, it's almost kind of after school special, like where it's like, one of the things that kind of cracks me up about the movie is sort of like people's perception of the teenagers, where it's like this movie kind of like draws this close of a thin line to like, oh, they're pot smoking teenagers. You know what I mean? It's like, they get that close to it. They call them hippies, and it's like, it's that kind of perception of youth that I like that Batman sort of going up against here.
And I love that Batman, and again, it kind of goes back to the moment where Batman becomes a fugitive, which, we know Batman's easy with fugitive life. He's done that tons of times before. But I love, and this is a running gag with Aquaman, by the way, he always says, the adventure, the time we did this. He always coins whatever he does something with Batman, like an adventure. Anyway, yeah, he writes memoirs and stuff, and it's hilarious. But anyway, but yeah, I love that I love Batman making that decision that, hey, I'll become a fugitive, one, because I'm used to it, but secondly, I'm going to protect these kids because, again, they're going to get railroaded here. I'm going to do what I can to protect I took them under my wing. I'm going to take responsibility.
Which, again, is like a really nice kind of like deep character moment for Batman in the midst of like a super silly crossover movie.
I know, and with that, I mean, we had a great moment on the outside where Batman, he's you see it is for a purpose of plot, where Batman's hearing some voices, and he's hearing like kind of calls from Scarlet, he's hearing, and we assume it's guilt, and I thought it was a clever thing too. Where we see the guilt on Batman before he enters the facility with that. He feels really bad about it. It's the same exact location where at the site of his greatest failure, again, not factoring like a Jason Todd thing. I don't think they always skirted around Jason Todd. I can't really. They had Dick Grayson, they had the whole Robin to Nightwing story, but they never did. Bat might mention Jason Todd once, and that's as far as they ever got. The point is, they're a little vague about the Robin thing. Regardless, it's the fact that it's a Batman at the site of his greatest failure here. And also, again, this bit with a bit just passed with Aquaman, the question is going to be very pivotal, and I love that. So again, we have and this is interesting too when you think about this character, Crimson Cloak. There's a lot about his background from that flashback. He doesn't have much of an endgame with his revenge motive, and you'd wonder why that is. And the reason is he's a pawn. He's a distraction essentially for the main plan. And it makes a lot of sense retroactively. Okay, if he keeps saying, Batman, I'll get my revenge on you. Well, what's his revenge? Well, he's just kind of tying Batman up right now. He's not really doing anything. And again, it's for a reason. He's just following orders, we're going to find out. And again, as it becomes more and more obvious as we see he's like losing his form. And again, she's putting it's mud, it's soil. It's like, okay, any Batman fan, even if like the most like vague Batman fan, is gonna know, okay, it's Clayface. It's obviously Clayface. If you've played the Arkham game, if you've played Arkham City, you know who it is. If you've played Arkham Asylum, you know who it. Actually, if you play any of the Arkham games, you know who it is. I think like the Clay chasing him around, very very obvious, and again they're relishing in that right now. And again, it's like it's lowering your defenses. But I will say, coming up, I really do like how again, I love how they use the food dehydrator as the dehydration weapon that the villains used in the '60s Batman movie, and how they use that to logically, because it just makes all the sense in the world. That's how you would defeat Clayface. I don't think I've ever seen Clayface really defeated that way using the '60s dehydrator. It's like, hey,
Can you hear me?
he's now I can.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was like accidentally muted for like a minute or two. My bad.
Weird.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just talking about the dehydrator. So basically, that's how you would defeat Clays. You dehydrate the guy.
Yeah, like you're saying, I like the fact that it's sort of like, hey, this is the answer to the mystery, but it's not really. It's just kind of like, it's kind of just like shining. It's a good misdirection.
Again, Diedrich Bader, he has me so much on this Batman where he's saying, look, just let me help you. He's just begging to make reparations for letting this one guy down. It wasn't even his fault. He did what he could. It was Milo's fault, and he's trying to help someone who, again, he's turned full villain. Only this I could buy this Batman. He's trying to right or wrong. He's like, it's a never too late Batman. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Aquaman trying to distract with the with the wife story, the story about Mira like making a meat that wasn't a meatloaf, but it was like some Atlantean meatloaf. Or Scooby and Shaggy having to be the obligatory bait in the room.
Yep.
Here we go. Here's the dehydrator thing. I jumped ahead a little with the dehydrator. I just wanted to make sure I got in there because I forgot we kind of cut back a little to kind of some thought-provoking Batman stuff. But again, it's all so wonderfully telegraphed what we're doing here. And just the minute later on when they basically take the dehydrator and localize it to the dehydrator weapon, it's perfect. Like it's almost like a Silence of the Lamb type thing where it's like, hey, great Scott, and then of course they're seeing off screen like when we know who it is inherently, but it's still like that moment of like one finds out and so does the other. And again, they're realizing there is kind of a nice PC commentary on vigilantism in this moment here, where they realize, well, we can't go with the cops, so we kind of have to take the law into our own hands. And, well, they do learn. Again, it's kind of, the grand scheme is kind of pointless, because, again, they're not really fighting, because, again, they're not trained fighters, so they have to run away, but now they're running away in bat costumes.
Yeah, but I like that they address that, though. I like that it's like, like, visually it's a good idea, but in terms of the practicality of them just dressing up in the Bat Family getup and fighting crime, it's not really going to work out too well, probably.
Oh, it was a squid entrail casserole. That's what it was. Let's see. Oh, by the way, Tiki, it's not a problem. I'm just letting you know you're coming in. I can't hear myself. I can hear you echo. I mean, it sounds like you're echoing a little. Just it's fine.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm going to try going out and coming back in. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So yeah, folks, this is just again, we're seeing the device. Well, I'm sorry, that was only ridiculous I said earlier. So yeah, I mean, he is kind of enacting the plan. I guess the big reveal is sort of the fail-safe. So boys are still getting at the same location. Now that I think about it, it was all coalescing. And when you think about it on the rewatch, of course, I'm assuming you folks watched it already. The Riddler needs to get to this location, and technically he was there already. So basically, as a fail-safe, he was going to be there regardless. So that's Yeah, so that's a cool plot. It's kind of occurring to me in the moment here that Riddler had his bases covered no matter what to enact this device. So the revenge plot was going the whole time to to basically kind of hold Gotham hostage with this new device. So again, this is it's silly, but at the same time, seeing the mystery gang in the suits that again, Batman Beyond, I'm so used to seeing in the cases after all these years, and kind of seeing them filled finally. That's it's fun. It's silly. It's something you can only do in a crossover like this. Now that's what I call an entrance.
How's this sound?
Give me a little more there. How do you feel about the movie so far?
Well, like I said, I warned you that I'd be a little light on the dialogue.
Okay, you're fine. I can hear it perfectly now. You're fine.
Okay. So I apologize if I'm not really, saying as much as I should be.
Well, we have a classic, just classic run away from the bad guys. And what we do here, and again, if it wasn't telegraphed enough that it was Clayface, again, we see all the inferior Clay duplicates of the classic Batman villains now kind of chasing everyone.
But like I said, I like how obvious it is, though. It's just like they make it so obvious that it's fun. It's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing.
Yeah.
Just Joker with the huge smile.
Yeah, I'm gonna go as far as to say this, and I can't verify this, but I think with the off-model Joker, I think it might be a commentary on them being so off-model in the original specials, with the villains being so off-model, particularly the Joker and Penguin.
Oh man, I think you're right. That's a good point because the Joker is just horrendous in those original specials.
At the very least, just with the giant Joker head, that has to the Joker's head has to be a reference to that off-model Joker.
And yeah, in those original specials, the Joker does have a very off-puttingly large head.
I love how a lot of the Scooby Gang do look like, mainly the girls here. They look just like like they could fill in for Carrie Kelly
Velma is like a spinning image of Carrie Kelly, absolutely.
And Daphne, she's not a bad girl. I'd follow her.
Now, which character is Fred dressed up as?
Well, he's wearing the Bob Kane era Batman.
Right.
From the flashback.
Right, yeah.
And again, he's using the dehydrator from the 60s movie. Which is cool, and that's a cool way to defeat Clayface. I love it. And again, Scooby is Ace the Bat Hound. That's nice, and I love the payoff coming up with that. I really do.
Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of touching. It really is to me, the ending later on. But but with Bullock here, so I don't forget it. With Bullock, real quick, something I love, and I love how they address it. Again, it's a perfect thing to they address in the perfect way for like all ages. I love how we don't skirt by the fact that Bullock, there was a lot of times in Bullock's stories, there was a question, is he corrupt? And I like that we addressed that really briefly. It happened earlier in the movie where the mystery gang, after Shaggy, after Shaggy is like, he's framed, they're questioning, you don't think Detective Bullock is, and Batman just quickly says, no. He's not.
Oh, man, I agree. I caught that. That was a really subtle moment. Yeah.
It was so smart. Again, it's like the Vendetta episode we talked about. It's very much like, hey, there's a question if Bullock's dirty, is he soiled? And Batman, I love that while Batman's, we address this theme so well. While Batman's, he's not always on the same page as Bullock. While they are at odds a lot of the time.
Batman calls him what, like a complication?
Yeah, calls him. Bullock. He's a complication. Yes, calls him a complication. He mocks him for his love of donuts, and aside from it, Bullock does famously love donuts. That's his character. But yeah, I mean, I love this. Moment. Batman does respect law and order, so he does give him credit where credit's due. Saying no, he's not, and that's all we say about it, and that's perfect.
Yeah, really well.
I like that we also imbue a little bit of a kind of classic kind of sympathy we have for Batman villains here, where Clayface is a guy who's looking for a cure a lot of the time, and we do that here with him. He's just saying, I needed isotopes, which, by the way, and you haven't gotten to this point yet, but down the line there is a whole episode where Clayface, he needs isotopes to kind of maintain his structural forms. I want to say that's an animated series reference, but it could just be classic Clayface comics. I don't know about that. But yeah, I'd like to think we got some animated series references here. Just give them what it is,
Right.
Of course, the Martian Man, the gag here, it's kind of subtle. The Martian Manhunter says zoinks before Shaggy does, and the reason for that is, of course, the Martian Manhunter can read minds, so he beat him to the punch, stealing what he was going to say. I just love how petty the Martian Manhunter is. He's just messing with Shaggy this whole movie, eating his cookies, and we reference Don Knotts here.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, this is a very
movie,
Knotts security card.
This movie literally has everything.
If only it had the Harlem Globetrotters just somewhere.
And Tiki, as much as we love this movie, again, I point you and the folks at home to that Batman Strange Case, the Strangest Cases episode, because that literally that is like the perfect sequel to the new Scooby Doo movies we talked about.
Oh God!
Because I'm saying, if you love this, and this is like just inspired by that, that is literally in the same universe and stuff, and has a guest star you would love.
Oh,
I can't tell you who, because it's not the Globetrotters, but someone you would love. And again, just this moment here, this bizarre. Again, you go back and you see like, oh, it's so convoluted, but again, it feels so Scooby. It's Scooby Doo mixed with an Adam West absurd like kind of commentary on it, where it's like way early in that movie, if you blinked and you missed it when that fight was going on. Question switch places with the Riddler. I mean, the Riddler switch places with the Question, and it makes sense. I was speaking to this while you were gone for a bit. Is that the Question? He was there for a reason, because he was going to enact the revenge plot just in case the Crimson Cloak wasn't there. So he was there to enact the revenge regardless, like he's about to do just now. It all makes sense. Again, as silly and like convoluted as it sounds, it all does make sense, and I'm so impressed with the writing in that.
What a tangled web they weave.
Yes. Oh, and look at this, was so subtle. When he shaked, when Batman was shaking Velma's hands, of course, it does reference the opening to the '60s Batman cartoon. The '60s Batman show. The opening cartoon, the Batman and Robin handshake. He couldn't shake anyone's hands, but he shake the one in the Burt Ward costumes. Hands.
Oh my God.
Again, this is silly. They all get. It's like how everyone gets caught in a net, and it's like the ridiculous of someone getting caught in a net instead of just like throwing it off of them, like they get caught in the overcoat.
So I like how at this point the mystery gang is like committed to the costumes. They're all in on it.
Yeah, and now we hit.
For the final chase.
I was a fan of the big surprise climax. Were you?
Yeah, I liked it. Because it's like, of course, with Scooby Doo, usually after the unmasking, we get the, that's kind of just the wrap up. But here it's like, no, the movie's still going for a little bit. We get a surprise kind of like final chase sequence.
And by the way, because it passed, and I got caught up with the whole handshake thing, I just wanted to say that we had the nicest version ever from Batman of "If it weren't for you meddling kids." It's like the thank you of like, you wouldn't have done it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
Yeah.
Now, Tiki, I love this. Is my like fist pumping F yeah moment right here with the Question. My God, it's like it's so silly, it's so corny, but it's so fantastic. With the Question, with his name has the ultimate riddle me this, what just hit you? Punch, and then he has like the best line of Jeffrey Combs saying this, like, answer the question. Just that line, answer the question. Oh my God! Again, it's been so long since I've heard Jeffrey Combs as the Question, ever since Justice League years ago. It's like more than 10 years. And it's so refreshing to hear him again as that character, and having like a great moment like that. Oh man, so fulfilling.
Nice.
Again, Bruce Timm himself has said this, like, they gotta do a Question show, like a Question movie or Question something. They do an animated show, bring Combs back. I mean, the Question is so untapped potential.
I just love the design of the Question more than anything else, as someone who's kind of like an outsider looking in on it.
Plus, with the Question, you have a great crossover, because the second Question, Tiki, someone who else took over the mantle, was Renee Montoya.
Okay.
So you have a perfect crossover and a perfect kind of legacy you could do with the Question. There's a lot of potential there.
Hell, I would even take a Question movie with Montoya as just the main character.
I'm saying this, like, what if you did a TV show, like the first season he's working with Montoya, and that's like that's his Commissioner Gordon for the law essentially, and then second season, like down the line, she takes over the role for him, or you could even kill him off maybe, and then she takes over.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential there. Okay, so this coming up here, this is one that really kind of pulling my heartstrings here. Because again, Scooby, knowing those old specials where Scooby always kind of tried to like kind of emulate Batman. This moment here where Batman 1, it's so nice that I love the tether here, by the way. All the little gadgets, just can't get enough of them. Like we have new gadgets after such a long time. New gadgets. Batman going in there to save Scarlet. And again, he's getting pulled in there. It seems like it's a death trap for Batman. Again, it's the age-old kind of Neil Gaiman thing of like any death could be Batman's last death. And here, there's this moment here where Scooby Doo of all characters, and again, in a silly crossover, you would imagine it's really Scooby Doo saving Batman, and Batman reaching for Scooby Doo's paw. I mean, oh my God, it's so
my hand, Scooby.
I know. But you see what I mean, though? It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, no, totally.
And again, Scooby dressed as Ace the Bat Hound. Yeah, it's like again. This movie is such the ultimate payoff of sitting through those other two Scooby Doo crossovers. Because knowing that it builds to this years later, it's so fulfilling that like all of that stuff, we're gonna make it 10 times better. And just this moment here with Batman again. Ever since they had the first design of this Batman, the Bob Kane smile, like that. Bob Kane, say what you will about him, he always drew like the headshot of Batman, where he had like that boxy design, and he always gave him the smile. Like you could get away with the smile from the '50s comics. And we have that moment there where he says, "Will Scarlet, welcome home," And the fact that Batman made peace with his father, the father hated Batman for not saving his son. Now. And again, he's not saying, "Hey, it's all good now." He's saying, I can't give back to you what you lost, but you still have a few years left. Basically, I have a feeling you guys have years left to experience. It's a beautiful.
That was really nice. That was so nice.
I know. And again, like the Detective Chimp, and just overachiever. He's so petty. That Detective Chimp. He's so petty. And this speaking of so nice, like Norma Bates would love this ending because there's so many beautiful little moments coming up here. Where I guess thinking of the Bates Burgers, little Norman Bates working at the very tail end here is like, oh, it's so nice, Norman. Just this moment here, it's so schmaltzy, but it's schmaltzy in the best of ways. Where again, I'm thinking, oh my God, are they gonna call him on being Bruce Wayne?
Right.
Did Velma call it? They were in the Batcave. I could buy it. And again, he didn't trust her with the Batcave computer. So I'm wondering, and then I love that Tiki. This for me is like one for me. I love that Grey Delisle's, Grey Griffin. I love that she was the one who delivered this. It's so a great big teddy bat, and then plastic. This look that it shoots the plastic bat. It's. It's the only way you could have handled that with still being kind of cool,
I mean, how crazy would it have been, though, if at the very end it was just like, oh, by the way, Batman, we know you're Bruce Wayne. What are you going to do about that? and
oh, yeah, right here. Just like the Iron Man.
Getting the snack at the very end.
Tiki, I was so... The fact that we got the bat again, the closest thing we're getting to a bat cookie, we got the bat snack, and again, it's a mix. Tiki, let me analyze the bat snack while I have the credits up here. Okay, the bat snack. 1, I think it's the perfect note to end on. 2, I love that it is a mixture of both snack-related things we got in both specials because they had the bat cookie, and at the end of I think it was the first one, Batman had that random bag of Scooby snacks.
Right.
So it is a bat-shaped Scooby snack.
Oh man.
And what's even better is the third level of it, Tiki. It's even better. The running gag in those original two, and this is directly a reference to it, in the original new movies, was that Scooby always stole Shaggy's food. He always ate his bat cookie and drank his bat milk. And now finally, years later, Tiki since 1972. that Shaggy finally got his bat snack.
God.
And again, we end on Holy Scooby Doo, Batman. I'm so delightful. It's such a delightful, uplifting movie. It really is.
It's just like, wow, it almost kind of makes it like Okay, yeah, maybe Hanna-Barbera really had something character development wise when they were putting together those originals. No, not really.
Oh boy, did you have a good time with this
Oh
thing?
God, yes. Oh God, Dragon. Really, like I said, I had no real expectation for this. I thought I knew it would be fun, right? I knew it would be a fun sit, but um, like I said, just the sharp writing on it, just the really clever kind of like, not quite fourth wall breaking, but kind of like the bit with the mallet and stuff like that, kind of like on the verge of fourth wall breaking. And also, like I said, just kind of mixed with the genuine pathos that we get in this special. Shockingly enough, it's a good time, Dragon. This is the first new movie that I've actually seen in 2018, and it's a nice way to start.
Oh yeah. This to me, I guess. Do you want to get the final thoughts, or
I mean, really, that kind of is my final thoughts. Like you said, we're kind of treading water through the credits here.
That's what I'm saying. Because it sounded like you
Yeah,
mid finals. I don't want to jump the gun on you just in case. So, okay, I
uh-huh.
guess in the mind is that
I think we're good. We got like a minute left.
this to me, this to me is the Batman Scooby Doo crossover done right. It's in an era where we now look back on Batman's history. It's what we keep doing with a lot of our new Batman stuff, with Cape Crusaders, with Lego Batman. That's kind of where we're at Batman after 75 years, getting close to 80 now. We're having we're adding these new layers to the familiar, and we're looking back on it, not just fondly, but we're looking back on it with new context and adding new things to it. And again, it brings back the Scooby Doo element. It brings back Brave and the Bold. It's bringing back kind of like not the it's so trippy and meta that Batman nowadays we're going to look back on like, hey, remember that era where Batman was all dark and broody? You remember that?
Right.
Over like when he was campy and silly. It's like look how weird a time warp we're entering in. What that is, it's so like time has inversed itself somehow. I mean, we're blessed with a number of Batman iterations as well as a number of Scooby Doo iterations. That just that combined, both of them having so many iterations, having such rich histories all their own, it made for such a winning combination that with that winning combination, what you get this movie, it's a Cape Crusaders style mix that just is as Cape Crusaders and Batman Two Face was. It's delightful. It's uplifting. It's something you can show everyone. It's a lot of fun. It's fun, wholesome, but it doesn't take the teeth out of it. It's got the story teeth. Not like sharp and gushing blood, but it's got the story teeth that you feel it deserves. And it's like it was a fulfilling experience and a good time and most importantly a good representation of both franchises.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, folks, and of course, this has all been a build-up to the real Batman detective thing, which is Gotham by Gaslight. The Batman the Batman equals Sherlock Holmes Elseworld story. Very excited about that. And yeah, so stay tuned for that, folks. In the meantime, got Bat Milk.
Well, at least